Ah, welcome to the Mermaid Tavern. How are you doing? Chin chin. Skål. Slàinte Salute. Bottoms up. So, I went to see Dirk McQuickley the other night in Bournemouth, at the Bournemouth Pavilion, and Dirk McQuickley, aka Eric Idle, of course. I saw a Ruttle. I never saw that, apart from, of course, the wonderful Rutles movie. I never saw the Rutles live, did you? Of course, it wasn't Eric, it was Neil, going around with people like John Halsey and, wasn't it, who played Barry Wom and other people. I never saw I wish I'd seen the Rutles live. Did you? Let me know in the comments if you did. I know you did, Alan. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to go. I wanted to go and see Eric, and he's doing this tour. Was he 82? He was singing his songs, and the Monty Python crew are like the Beatles, aren't they? They sort of, a lot of people have speculated they took over, from the Beatles, didn't they? They're sort of mantle almost, and not rock and roll, but mock and roll, as Eric Idle calls it. So they've always been there, in my life, and I've always loved the Pythons. And actually, seeing all it was Eric doing a little show which is touring around. I think the last night is what is it today? Friday. I think it's tomorrow night at the Royal Albert Hall. Today being the what is it? The 28th, 26th, 27th, 28th. I can't even remember the date. Isn't it awful? But the Friday before, the last Friday in September. But yeah, I saw him on Wednesday night at the Bournemouth Pavilion, and it was very good. It was really enjoyable. It was really nice. It's not a huge theatre, that, and it wasn't terribly busy actually. The stalls, I was sitting row X. It had A to Z, A to Z, and I was on there. But wherever you sat, you could still see him really. And there was nobody. I looked. There's nobody in the circle, and there was a few empty seats in the stalls, and it was sort of not terribly responsive. I wonder what he thought. He was very fun. I thought he was really funny indeed, and I felt the need to go woo, 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 like that, woo, whoop it up a bit. And there was a guy sat near me who had a very sort of bless him, funny laugh. He'd go like that, machine gun sort of laugh like that, and people like looking round. Machine gun laugh. You do when you're younger, and that was quite funny. It was mostly I think my age and above there, and it was Eric with a screen showing his clips. Really, it was like showing his slides through his life and singing his songs. And he had a little acoustic guitar on stage, and on the screen he had a virtual band, like a trio. And Mickey DeLenz turns up in the virtual band singing "I'm a Believer." That was quite nice. It was lovely. It was really lovely, actually. It was quite nice and intimate and rather lovely. And he's good fun. I love Eric Idle. I love all the Pythons, really. I think I've always had a soft spot for Eric. I've always liked him, and Michael Palin as well. I love. Don't get me wrong. I think all the Pythons are great, but I've always thought that Michael Palin and Eric Idle, I think probably it's between the two. It's very hard, but because they're both great, aren't they? Things they've written, and of course, Eric's written some great songs over the years, "The Meaning of Life," and of course the song that this one's named after, "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life," because it's called "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life," live, and it's very funny. He sings lots of familiar songs, like the philosopher's song about, you know, Socrates was permanently pissed. That one. There's a lot of well-known songs, but he did some new ones, including one about "Don't Film Me on YouTube." Everything rhyming with tube, and threats, and and the word lube. Yeah, it was fun. It was really funny. And there's another song I hadn't heard before about. I can't remember it very well now. If you know in the comments, please let me know. Something I might not be here. I might be dead tonight. Something might not be here again. And so, at the end, and so might you. You know, sort of dark humour. And they said he survived. He said he survived the disease, COVID, cancer, cheese, and crucifixion. And you know, there's a lot of the Rutles in there, the Beatles. George Harrison was obviously a dear mate to Eric, and he talks extremely fondly about him. He really does, and fondness for him. I think they were very dear friends, and it's a very touching little tribute. You know, I miss you, George. He sings this song, I miss you, George, with the pictures of George and him on the screen, and it's really touching. Actually, it really got to me. Yeah. And he talks all about how George kind of mortgaged, you know, quite familiar things, like George mortgaged his Friar Park, his big mansion, in order to pay for the life of Brian. And you know, there's a very dear friendship there, I think, you know, and how you know, George absolutely loved the Rutles. It was always quoting from it, wasn't it? There's lots of instances, but then apparently so did John and Yoko. He said it's quite amazing, because Yoko was virtually depicted as kind of Hitler's daughter in it, isn't she? And you know, he said that Linda was really keen on it, but I think he sort of implied Paul wasn't sure at first. You know, so yeah. Do you know what? I've referenced the Rutles a lot, and Alan, we're going to do a Rutles thing when you come and stay here. We're going to go in the Mermaid Tavern and talk about the Rutles and have a good old. Mark, I watched it with you recently again, didn't I? And it's great. I'll never stop loving the Rutles. Name dropping, shamelessly. I mean, you can't tell his story without name dropping, because he knows a lot of people, as well as the Beatles, and he's got Mick Jagger and Paul Simon and Elvis, and he said he never got to meet Elvis. He really was sorry about that, but he heard through Elvis's then girlfriend, Linda Thompson, that he used to do sketches in bed with, like the nudge, wink, wink, say no more, that one, you know. Can you imagine Elvis doing that? And you know, so other sketches as well. So big sort of Python fans, and of course the Monty Python's huge in America. He showed clips of the Hollywood Bowl. He said, you know, they played at the same place the Beatles played. They would follow them around, and it is true. The Pythons have got that sort of thing, haven't they? The five Pythons have got the sort of, you know, continuation of the Beatles, even though, you know, it's completely different. But that overlap, and I love it. I love that overlap. I always have done, you know. And of course, Neil Innes, bless Neil Innes. You know, he mentions Neil, but he doesn't really give him a big sort of tribute. But I love Neil, don't you? I think I'm going to talk about that pretty soon here at the Mermaid Tavern. I'm going to do a thing where I talk about Neil Innes. On that subject, I wanted to get I was going to take my album down, my Rutles album, to get Eric to sign it, because a long time ago, I think it was about 2003, Neil was at Beatles Convention in Liverpool, and I got him to sign. Can you see? It says Neil Innes, Nick, Ron, and he signed it. He signed it, Ron Nasty. Can you see that? I really wanted to get Eric to sign it as Dermot Quickly, but I didn't take it in the end. I thought there wasn't going to be an opportunity to go and stand around at the stage door. It's a bit of a stage door, Johnny. I've never done that. Have you? I've never stood outside a stage door. You never, anybody really. But it'd be nice if he'd done a signing or something somewhere, like a book sign. I did pick up this a while ago. His book. When did this book come out? I bought it new, but it was being sold already signed, 2018. So I don't think this is in London. I can't remember which bookshop it was. I've got a feeling it was it Waterstones? Don't remember now. But anyway, they were selling signed copies. Eric had already signed it. No, I didn't get to meet him, unfortunately. But yeah, it's like a signed copy of it. You can see he's signed it there. Yeah. So this is a nice little souvenir of Eric actually telling stories about his life. Recommend reading this. There's a lot of good things in here, and they didn't really. He talks about meeting his wife Tanya just after the sort of in the late 70s, his second wife, and it was, he said that she was in the audience, and obviously big love for her. And I think it was just after the Rutles or something that he met her, or something because of that, And I can't remember to read this again actually, but there was no merch. I was a bit disappointed. There was no merch. There was no Eric merch in a program. I'm a bit of a sucker for a program. Are you? When you go and see something, I've got too many programs from things I've seen in the past. Theatre programs, gig programs. I've seen a few comics. I remember seeing Spike Milligan years ago and getting a program. Dave Allen, people like that. It's funny how he talks about Cambridge Footlights meeting up with John Cleese and Graham Chapman, and then they went over to Edinburgh Festival and met up with Michael Palin and Terry Jones. That's how they got to meet, really, even though Palin and Jones were at Oxford, and I think he talks about if you're not from this country, you might not know the goodies, but if you're my age from this country, you know the goodies. Graham Garden, Tim Brooke Taylor, Bill Oddie, and he was involved with Bill Oddie doing one of his first comedy sketches or something. Can't remember now. And they joke about how they'd write sketches, and he had to make them laugh. And if he didn't make them laugh, they'd give them to the two Ronnies. No disrespect to the two Ronnies. If you don't know who the two Ronnies were, that's Ronnie Barker, Ronnie Corbett, again, two legends of British comedy. Talks about Robin Williams as well, dear Robin Williams, and he did a little song about Robin as well. That was really lovely, really lovely indeed. And he talks lots of things about about George, and he put little jokes and things, and about. He was telling him about awful time that George was attacked in the Friar Park, and the fact that they were carrying him out, and they'd just taken on to Australian kind of staff members in the thing, whatever they were, and George joked to them, what do you think of the job so far? Something like that. It was quite sort of dark humour, But so in 2013, when I was doing a play about Mal Evans, I contacted Eric on Twitter as it was then. Well, I just had it. I think I just put it out there. He was having a conversation. And I said to him, "What would the Ruttle Roadie be called?" It was like a sort of little. I was trying to get him to sort of, knowledge that I was doing a play about Mal Evans, the Beatles roadie, and I was saying, what were the Rutles Roadies called? And then he said it was a very funny guy playing the Rutles Roadie, the Ruttle Mal character, and he couldn't remember the name. He said research. That, and I did go on X the other day and actually say thanks for cheering me up, Eric, and he did repost that. So. Oh yeah, that's right. I put a little thing just opposite in Bournemouth, where he's playing the Pavilion on the seafront, just across the way is what used to be the Gaumont. Now it's a Premier Inn, and that's where the Beatles played after Liverpool and London. The Beatles played in Bournemouth the most after Liverpool and London at the Gaumont. What was the Gaumont now? Now it's a Premier Inn. Could have stayed there, couldn't I? Anyway, but yeah, I thought that was a nice little. And he reposted that. So that's the Pavilion. I've just seen Eric Idle, and that, which is now a Premier Inn, it's the Gaumont, where the Beatles played more times after Liverpool and London. They played there more times than anywhere else in England, Scotland or Wales. Brilliant. So it's nice to have those little interactions with people, isn't it? So, but it was a really funny evening. I just really enjoyed it, and it did cheer me up. It was really cheerful and lovely, very touching. He talks about Robin Williams as well, dear Robin Williams, who was also a very dear friend with. I didn't think I quite knew that he was that much of a friend with Robin, but he obviously was, and he did a little song about Robin as well. That was really lovely, really lovely indeed. And he talks lots of things about about George, and he put little jokes and things, and about. He was telling him about awful time that George was attacked in the Friar Park, and the fact that they were carrying him out, and they'd just taken on to Australian kind of staff members in the thing, whatever they were, and George joked to them, what do you think of the job so far? Something like that. It was quite sort of dark humour, But of course, what do you think his final song was going to be? Come on, you knew it was going to be Always Look on the Bright Side of Life, and he was saying it amused him how many times that song was used in funerals now. He's written the funeral song. And he did come back on and do an encore, and that was a little ditty about an encore, and then it was a fart, and I did actually film that little bit at the end. I'll put it there now. I'll put it there I'll put it there at the end, and you can see when you get the fart joke. just a second, just a second. But it was really enjoyable. It really was. I really enjoyed it, and bless him, Eric Idle. Eric, you're an absolute legend, and not just in your own lunchtime. You are, and you really put a big smile on my face seeing you there the other night, and I'm really glad I did see you. Bless you. Will I see you again? I sincerely hope so.
Instead of ending with a fart.